Volbeat is gonna have a new album. Is upcoming. It's gonna be out June 6th. It's gonna be your ninth album, I believe, right? Yes, I think so.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. God of Angel Trouble. First of all, something that caught my attention. You're recording this album when you're talking about the band very quickly for
Yeah.
about 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Is that something like you have? You have it already. Some ideas packed. So at the moment that you went to the studio, was everything in place, or that's something very common for you?
Well, it's a bit of both, actually.
Okay.
Once we have the songs that we need for an album, we rehearse them very intensively for a couple of months. So when we do enter the studio, we are 98% sure of what we're going to do. Michael has this little notebook with him where he writes down ideas, maybe for sounds or effects or stuff like that. So in case something happened, he can go and say, "Oh yeah, we should have this and that." But for this one, like you said, it was kind of like almost 3 weeks, but everything went really, really smoothly. Again, like I said, because we have rehearsed the songs intensively. And also the fact, we came off for a good start on the first day in the studio. We didn't experience any problems or anything like that. And the songs just kept going and going and going. And before I knew it, the drums were done. It was like, oh, we're done. Yeah. Oh, okay. And then they could start, working on guitar and bass and his vocals and all that stuff. So yeah, it was very, very, very quickly. But like I said, we do rehearse a lot before we go into the studio, because it is expensive to be in the studio and you don't want to waste time there. You're there to work and not, having fun and drinking coffee. Not that we're not drinking coffee or having fun, but we are there to work, So, yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. And that came with a question. You've been in the band for a long time, right? Mostly the whole time. So of course, you'll see the evolution of the band, the sound of the band. And sometimes when I try to do this question from some people, you can compare each album. Every album have their own unique soul, their own unique sound. It always evolving, new methods, new instrument, new sounds. For you, this new album, you did something different, talking about your instrument, talking about the drumming, like a new technique, a new way of recording, for example?
Well, one of the ideas that we had for this album, and I think actually that came from when Michael did the Yes in Hell album, that they wanted that one to be a bit more, organic sounding, more like a live vibe feel to it. And he said, let's try and do the same with God of Angels Trust. So we talked to our producer about it. Well, Michael did, and he said, let's try and keep this more like we used to back in the days. Kind of go back and revisit, some early part of our history where it was like that. We only had, a certain amount of time in the studio back then, so it was just like get the songs done and then get out of here. So we wanted to have that more of a live feel to it, more organic, and we told our producer, he said, all your fancy robots that you have in the studio, for editing and samples and all that stuff, let's try and put that in the background. Let the drums sound like a drum kit and not a sample or a machine or anything like that. Let the guitars have, some crunch to it. Let it have its feet a little bit in the back somewhere, and it sounds cool. Let's keep it. And the same thing for the drums. We said, if one of the snare hits isn't as hard as the other ones, but instead of editing so it sounds equally hard, if it sounds great that one of the snare hits isn't quite as hard, just leave it. Let's have that more live feel, organic feel to it. Let's see if we can get it to sound like a band is actually playing live in the studio type of vibe. Not that we did, but that was the idea, one of the ideas behind it. And our producer, to his credit, I must say, he was all up for it. He was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it like that. That's instead of putting all tons of samples on the drums and the guitars. No, if it sounds, let it sound like a drum, let it sound like a guitar and a bass.
Awesome. Like it feels natural.
Yeah, absolutely, a natural feel to it. And again, that was how definitely some of the early albums sounded, because they sounded perhaps a bit more dirty, if you want to call it that, but that was the equipment that we had, and that was the studio equipment that he had, so we made the best of it. Nowadays our equipment is probably slightly a little bit more better than it was back then, but I will say that Michael still recorded at least some of the rhythm guitars. I'm not sure if it was all of them, but definitely some of the rhythm guitars was recorded with his old Marshall that he has been using like forever. It's not going to go on the road anymore. It's retired, but it's in the studio.
Exactly. So that's pretty cool, and that's what I saw. I was reading some interviews, and you say like you was recording like as less takes as possible, like trying to do everything at once. Like maybe one a few takes, so everything can pack already. So, and that's pretty cool, and I can see that on one of your songs. I've been listening to the album. So far I have a few favorites. I love AC Rain, love it. Okay, that's pretty cool. One of the last singles, Time Will Heal. I'm a fan of Volbeat. So one of the things that I like is like you have a kind of mix of sounds, right? You have some rockabilly, some blues, some metal. And that's pretty cool for me. Compared to the last album, I see in this one that you went for a more, let's say, heavy hard rock sound. Not that melodic like the last one. Like for example, I don't know, like the song "Shotgun Blues," for example.
Yeah.
So now you go for the heavy more power. We can see this in your coming tour.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think so. And yeah, you're kind of right. That some of the songs in this one was more based around the riff, the main riff, instead of the big hooks and the melodies, which we were focusing on a couple of years ago, especially with the Rewind album, which was meant to be as it became. But yeah, for this one, also because Michael had his throat surgery and all that, so it was also kind of like maybe instead of singing all the time, like he used to say, shut the fuck up, you idiot, you're singing all the time, maybe not sing as much, and if the riff is strong enough, then let the riff be in the front seat of the song this time. Obviously we still have, also on this one we do have the big melodies, the big hook lines, and all that stuff. But yeah, there are definitely songs on this one that is perhaps on the more heavier side, more riff based. And again,
that's what I love.
Yeah, and again, that was one of the ideas, and maybe he took some inspiration from S and Hell. I'm not really sure if he did, but that's based more around the riff, the old death metal thing. And again, we had tons of songs back in the days who were more riff based, and then I better sing something, or I better come up with some sort of lyrics, better come with something, So yeah, that definitely, and we are very excited about going out and play these songs live. We hope that during the whole tour, we will be able to play all 10 songs, not in the same night, obviously, because that's too much, but overall,
during the tour,
hopefully being able to play all 10 songs. And we couldn't do that on the last tour for the Servant of the Mind tour, because there were unfortunately certain songs that Rob didn't really knew, because he couldn't be a part of the recording process due to the COVID. So there were not really any time for him to learn some of the songs that we said, we should really play that one. But he's like, I don't know it. It's going to take a long time for me to learn it and get comfortable with it. But this time we have been rehearsing all 10 songs while we are doing, trying to come up with a set list for the tour. We have been playing all 10 songs every time, because we want to keep them fresh, and we want to hopefully include them during the tour. We're going to start off with one batch now, and maybe some of them will disappear during the tour, because one thing is that what we think is going to work live, maybe when we start playing here next week in Canada, maybe there will be some of the new songs that we have picked that people going, yeah, it's not going to work. Maybe it's not going to work live, some of the songs. Maybe there are songs where we kind of go, oh, this is never going to work. And they are going to work. That happens too,
Well, at least you need to try it.
Yeah. That's definitely a goal for this whole tour. At some point when we take our Christmas break, we hopefully can sit down and say, yes, we did it. We did play all 10 songs live at some point.
Awesome. Well, I hope to see you here in Latin America, especially in Chile.
Yeah.
Well, you have an upcoming tour, first pass in Europe.
Yep.
Do you have any time, like maybe you can say like we can be in Latin America maybe next year or something?
I mean, we would love to. I mean, that's for goddamn sure. We would love to come back to South America. We haven't been to Chile for, I don't know how many years now. Was it 18?
Quite time. And you was quite near because you was touring with that Maiden. I was waiting for you guys.
Yeah. We did the two our maiden shows in Brazil last year, and we would definitely love to come back, not only to play Chile, but playing the whole of South America. It's been too long, but it's not really up to us to decide when we're going to do it. But I hope we will.
Well, sir, thank you for your time. Hope to see you soon here, and congratulations on your new record. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.